listeners. Welcome to the new Spinwheel series, What's Your Wheelhouse? We're interviewing a handful of industry experts, clients, partners, and folks who know everything that they're talking about to understand what their wheelhouse is. I'm Megan Bauer, Head of Customer Success at Spinwheel, and I'm joined today by our first guest, Rachael Olson. So excited to have her here on this initial call. So, Rachael, can you give us a little introduction into yourself?
Yeah, thank you so much, Megan. I'm really happy to be here. As Megan said, I'm Rachael Olson. I run Frictionless Economics Consulting, and prior to that, I've been in the fintech and consumer lending business for about the past 15 years. I've worked on the credit bureau side of things at TransUnion, and I've worked at a couple of fintech lenders, Enova, Above Lending, and most recently, I headed up Discover's product strategy function for their $6 billion unsecured personal loans business. Thanks for having me.
We're super excited to have you here, Rachael. You definitely have experience. You're an expert in the fintech space, so we'd love to talk to you about your wheelhouse. So for you, your wheelhouse is how the flow of funds and intent shape borrower risk beyond the credit score. What should people understand about this today? What that they probably don't?
Yeah, it's really interesting in this space because in unsecured lending, so credit cards, unsecured personal loans, um, you often think or want to think that credit score will be predictive of risk, and overall it is. But what people miss is that the intent of the consumer and how they're going to use the funds, even with the same credit score, greatly impacts what ends up happening with the funds. So if you can know somehow how the consumer is going to use the cash that they're receiving, it makes a huge difference in overall performance.
Excellent. I think it's super important. Like you said, there's a lot of data, there's information available, but knowing how things are being used or transacted in the end has a lot to tell about, um, the person. Um, okay, so what is the silliest thing you've heard in this space? Like, what are people getting wrong?
Oh, you know, in unsecured personal loans, in the application process, most lenders ask, what do you intend to use these funds for? And there is a list of 30 different things in some cases. It'll be, debt consolidation or home improvement or vacations or a wedding. Whatever the case may be, what people don't know is that those reasons for the funds, they are not they aren't actually reflected in your credit score or your credit report. It's a pile of cash, and what you do with it after you receive it looks the same financially on the credit bureau side, no matter what you end up doing with it. So that is, I think, a misconception, is that if I say that I'm using the funds for a wedding or whatever the case may be, that's not necessarily how you have to use those funds.
How often do you think that consumers are using that pile of cash for a different way?
That's the billion-dollar question because, of course, after the funds leave the lender's account, there's it's very difficult to track what happens, and it becomes even harder because the credit bureau reporting operates on a lag naturally. So the loan is issued, and you have 30 to 60 days to report that to the credit bureau, depending on different, when various timing aspects. And and then, what the consumer chooses to use the cash for is it's just in their own bank account. So that is the billion-dollar question. We do know from various studies that when consumers state that they are using cash for debt consolidation purposes, we are able to trace what ends up happening with their overall debt balances and how much they get reduced and what happens to them over time. But, as you alluded to, Megan, it's not a one-to-one relationship necessarily.
Yeah, as someone who just went through the process of doing some cash out refinancing and getting a lump sum of cash for a home project, I can see how there's really no follow-up at the end of where that goes. So very interesting. Is there a way that lenders can make sure consumers are using that cash in the way that they should have been? Like in that debt consolidation example?
Yes and no. It helps if the lender has a cross-product relationship with the consumer. So, for example, if that lender offers deposit products and that consumer uses their bank account and gets funds dispersed to that bank account, then you can trace some of the funds directly as the lender. But beyond that, you would have to rely on external data sources, including the credit bureaus, as well as some various different sources of cash flow underwriting that you might have available to you.
Got it. You hinted at this a little bit in just that previous answer, but what are some of the biggest challenges in this space or that people are dealing with right now?
Yeah, intent of borrower is very difficult to determine ahead of time. The that is very, very hard, and what borrowers say that they intend to do with funds doesn't necessarily bear out. Um, I believe that there are ways to determine true intent, and the more information that you have on their behavior uh, and the flow of what they've done with funds in the past, the better. But we aren't mind readers, so that sometimes is the best that we can do.
Do you want to share any of those ideas you have?
So in my experience, just asking the question of what you intend to use the funds for, even holding credit score exactly equal, um, a consumer who states that they're going to use the funds to pay down debt performs better than the same credit score consumer who states that they're going to use the funds for a vacation or for something fun. And that's remarkable because stating what you're using the funds for, it's not a credit bureau field. It's not, legally enforceable in any way because this is again a pile of cash that goes into your bank account and leaves the lender's bank account, and that's that. But it's remarkable that just asking the question can give you some information about intents.
Excellent. Simple things to do to help this process, right?
Just ask. Yep, just ask.
Yes. Communication is key. So,
That's right.
uh, yeah. Switching gears a little bit, and we would be remiss not to ask about the hottest topic of all time right now, which is AI. So, how is AI changing this area of the business or potentially changing, people requesting intent, maybe not just in theory, but in practice and what you've seen?
Yeah. Well, AI in lending has been around in some respects for the past 2 decades, longer than I've been in the business. And that has shown up typically in underwriting. We've had machine learning models at the fintechs for quite a long time. That's not fundamentally different now. What's changing with AI in underwriting is more about the velocity of information than it is about the actual way that it's being used. But where I think, so underwriting has used AI a lot, but where I think that AI is relatively new in the lending space is in shaping the customer experience. Um, we have some chatbots, and we have some Gen AI chatbots, but not as much as you might think for customer service because we're financial institutions and we are very concerned naturally with compliance and having tight guardrails around AI. And I think that that means that we've only begun to see the very beginning of how AI can shape the experience. The first part is going to be chatbots that are starting to be out there, but I think the long-term implications are important too. Design is going to very quickly be capable of a whole lot more using AI, and we can start to understand consumer behavior a lot faster with AI. So that's really exciting, and I think we've just begun to scratch the surface of it.
Yeah, I think a little bit of thinking about the whole consumer journey or the borrowing journey, right? A lot of
Hmm.
it's shown up front in kind of that agent piece, the support piece, but not so much in the end. necessarily, right? So fitting it into all those different assets of the experience, we'll probably continue to see it to evolve there.
Yeah, that's right. I think what we're going to be able to do regarding A/B testing experience is going to be really powerful. We'll be able to quickly adjust our designs and experiences very, very quickly so that so that we can improve our conversion without causing issues with our risk levels. But I think also there's a question of we're starting to see agentic purchasing outside of financial services. Are we going to see things like agentic lending? And I think the answer is yes, we will start to see that. And how is that going to look from the perspective of not having a front end in all cases? And I think that's really exciting.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more to be seen there.
Yeah, I agree.
We describe it as a little bit of a tsunami. Um,
hmm
how far out do you think that the industry is from agentic lending?
I think I think we are going to see agentic purchasing and agentic shopping for a
Mm,
while before we see agentic lending. Um, we have to get consumers comfortable with agentic purchasing for simple things like purchasing concert tickets or airline tickets or something.
mm,
Um, Once we have, I think, a critical mass of consumers doing that type of purchasing through agents, that's when, people are going to start being comfortable shopping for the best APRs out there or shopping for the highest yield and deposits. But I think it's going to take some time on the consumer side. And
mhm.
then not even talking about the financial side, I think financial firms are going to have to get very comfortable with just enabling bots to start agents rather to start shopping for those products and right now I don't believe that the capability exists for financial institutions to differentiate between agents purchasing and fraud bot attacks, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think it's a comfort level when it comes to letting AI make financial decisions for you. Um, how do you feel about agentic investing that is starting to happen today?
I think it's a positive for consumers overall because my understanding of what's happening so far is that it's pretty tightly guardrailed, with consumers having control over the flow of funds in the end. I think that it enables fees to come down, investing fees, and it's kind of analogous to a couple of decades ago when the information about how much things cost in investing became much more ubiquitous and people started questioning, why am I paying 2% of my wealth every single year for this fund? Well, I think the same thing is going to happen with just using agents to start understanding, what are the returns that this fund offers versus its fees and be able to compare that seamlessly across thousands and thousands of different options. So overall, I'm excited about it. I understand that it is a little bit scary with enabling agents to go ahead and manage your money for you, but I think that this is the way of the world.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a crawl, walk, run approach. However, with AI, it feels more of like a run, sprint, marathon, if you will. So it's all accelerating quite quickly, but I think there's a lot of opportunities to unlock there.
I agree completely.
Yeah. So, this is excellent, Rachel, and I appreciate all of your insight into this particular area of your wheelhouse and expertise. But we want to have a little bit of fun with it, right? So, um, tell us what your non-business wheelhouse is right now. What are you a little obsessed with outside of work?
I'm a planner. I'm a planner of fun and interesting things, and I am really passionate about finding great things to do in the city of Chicago and organizing outings and events around it. I'd say one of my favorite events that I ever organized was a sloth party.
Like the
Uh,
end.
Yeah, it was a party where I basically rented a sloth and some other exotic animals and had a party around learning about these exotic animals. We got to pet them and feed them. It was through the Flying Fox Conservation Fund, which is a little nonprofit in Chicago, and it was a lifelong dream to get to pet a sloth for me. So I just got some friends and family together in one of my dear friends' living rooms, and we had a sloth climbing on the furniture. It was great.
How did the sloth feel? Was it as soft or not soft as you would have thought?
It was wiry. The
Mm.
fur was really wiry. It felt like you were, I mean, it was a very sweet, sweet, lovely animal, but it kind of felt like you were brushing, like one of those wool scrubbers that you scrub pots and pans with. It was amazing.
Not something you want to snuggle with, but a very fascinating creature.
Yes, that's right. It had really long, scary looking nails too. That was great.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, now you are really kind of upping the ante for planning your next parties. So people will be anticipating, giraffes and elephants or whatever next big item you want to plan there. So we can't wait to hear
Yes.
what it is.
Yeah. I guess we got to go to the zoo for that one.
Possibly. Yes. Well, Rachel, thank you so much for sharing your wheelhouse and giving us your insights. You're definitely one of the experts in this space. And so we love having you as our first guest on What's Your Wheelhouse with Spinwheel.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me, Megan, and Spinwheel as well.